We'll talk later. You go sit.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in just about a minute. Good morning and welcome to the CRTPO Technical Coordinating Committee. Today's date is November 2nd, 2023, and the time is 10:01. We will begin today's meeting. I'd like to do introductions around the table, and we'll start to my left.
Tracy Hack, pedestrian focus area.
Heather Maloney, Town of Huntersville.
Will Washam, Town of Mooresville.
Aaron Tucker, Town of Cornelius. Bjorn Hansen, Union County.
Xavier Balgas, City of Statesville.
James Kelly, Town of Waxhaw.
Justin Russell, Town of Stallings.
Candace Rory, Charlotte Planning.
Andrew Ventresca, Town of Troutman.
Jeff Johnson, CRTPO.
Liz Babson, City of Charlotte.
Dan Lever, City of Charlotte, General Services.
Alex Ramundi, bicycle focus area.
Irene Ivy, public health focus area.
Roger Castillo, NCDOT Transportation Planning Division.
Andy Bailey, NCDOT Transportation Planning Division.
Andrew Golden, Town of Davidson.
Alex Rittenberry, NCDOT Integrated Mobility Division.
Brian Horton, CATS, MTC Rep.
Megan Green, Mecklenburg County Air Quality.
Janice DeJanke, Town of Matthews.
Rich Hoffman, Iredell County.
Thank you. And now we'll move into the audience, starting to my left.
Neil Burke, CRTPO.
Andy Richie, Charlotte, Rob Brooks, CRTPO. Kristen Ewing and Doug Chatham and Waxhaw. Let me get to DOT Division 10. Warren Cooksley from Mike Authority. Do a good day. Regional plan. Or William C. Dot. Brian Ellsworth, CRTPO. CRTPO.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome. First, we will adopt today's agenda. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We adopt today's agenda.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Next, we will adopt today's consent agenda. We have 4 items on the agenda. We have the approval of the October 5th, 2023 TCC minutes, the 2024-2033 TIP amendments, the 2024 TCC meeting dates, and the functional classification revision requests from CDOT. May I have a motion?
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Now we'll move on to our first and only business item. We'll hear from Curtis Bridges, who's going to present to us on the 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan socioeconomic data. Welcome, Curtis.
Good morning. We do want to bring this item for you for action this morning. This is our 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan socioeconomic data. So this item came up very briefly at our October TCC meeting. Since then, we have brought this item to 2 transportation staff meetings and shared some information and documentation also since that time. Hopefully that has provided some information and also answered any questions that you all should have on this topic. So the action we are requesting this morning is that you recommend that the CRTPO board adopt the draft county level household and employment projections for the 2055 MTPs for horizon years of 2025, 2035, 2045, and 2055 during their November board meeting. Why is this important? It is a critical first step in preparation of our 2055 MTP. These are direct inputs into the Metrolina Community Division model. It's a land use model, and our Metrolina Regional Travel Demand Model, or the MRM. These projections allow CRTPO and our partners to better predict future travel demand. The results are improved decision-making and priority setting, And then we do reassess these projections every 4 to 5 years to coincide with new MTP development. For some regional context, this process was led by our model staff in coordination with a economic development consultant that was brought on board. We did do this also in coordination with our MPO partners, regional MPO partners, Gaston, Cleveland, Lincoln MPO, the Rockville Fort Mill in South Carolina, or RFATS. Of course, our staff, Cabarrus Rowan MPO, and the Rocky River RPO. I do want to stress that this was done using a consistent process, consistent, I guess, again, across the region and across MTP cycles. We've used this process in the past. How are projections developed, and meaning what data goes into these projections? Regional economic development consultant expertise. Of course, that consultant I mentioned earlier was a company named Fourth Economy. Bureau of Economic Analysis, county and local building permits and certificates of occupancy, geographically located employment data, census estimates, local staff research, our Metro Atlanta regional travel demand model outputs from previous runs, and the North Carolina statewide transportation model. I mentioned that this is key inputs into our planning process and the MTP process. The control totals are fed into our community-based land use model, which then disaggregates the totals to TAZ zones or traffic analysis zones. Those are then fed into the travel demand model, and that is used to evaluate our fiscally constrained projects in the MTP for air quality conformity. So that's how that process works. And then finally, here are the projections that we're asking you to adopt. These should also be available in your TCC agendas, so I'll give you a minute to look at those. And then we can also get into some questions here shortly if you have any. Some key considerations and takeaways. These are for you, but also for conversations you may have between now and mid-November if you discuss this with your MPO or board members. These projections are intended to be objective, research-based, and defensible. The projections are adopted that we are adopting here in 2023. Incorporate projections by the MRM, NCDOT statewide model, regional economist, and most current employment and household data and trends. FHWA has advised MPOs to prioritize consistency, which is why we emphasize that in development of the socioeconomic data, and modeling local staff will reassess these projections every 4 to 5 years to coincide again with the new MTP development. So with that, I'll see if, I'll pause and see if there are any questions. And again, the action that we're requesting is recommendation to the board that they adopt the county level control totals for 20, 25, 35, and 45, and 55.
Thank you, Curtis. Are there any questions?
No?
All right. Yes, go ahead.
I don't have any objections to to the numbers that are projected through this process, but I would note that, the next phase of this is going to be the community viz distribution. And I would ask that we kind of get brought along on the process, because I felt like this was very compressed to digest it, and getting some interim updates on what's going on in the considerations, I think will help for when those are completed in the spring and summer.
We'll do that. We're working with the COG on that. They're managing that process for us, and we'll make sure that we bring that to you all regularly.
Any further questions? All right. May I have a motion to recommend that the CRTPO board adopt the draft county level household and employment projections for the 2055 MTPs for horizon years of 2025, 2035, 2045, and 2055 during their November 15th board meeting?
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
All right, our next item, we have one information report. We're going to hear from Bob Cook on the CRTPO FY 2025 UPWP annual budget.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Wanted to take this opportunity to introduce
preparation of fiscal year 25 Unified Planning Work Program. We'll talk a little bit about what that is for those of you who have not been through this process before. We'll discuss funding, tasks, some of the major initiatives and the issues that probably will need to be addressed in the UPWP next year, and then talk about next steps. So as to what the work program is, it is our budget. That's probably the simplest way to describe it to many folks. We're using terminology in federal legislation when we use the term Unified Planning Work Program, but it is our budget. So it identifies all the planning activities that we need to undertake during a fiscal year. It documents how federal funds and any state funds that may be necessary are allocated to 8 categories of task codes. And those task codes are data and planning support. A lot of that is related to the Metrolina regional model. There's a planning process task code. It's a very broad category that encompasses the development of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, performance-based planning, congestion management process, et cetera. And so it's kind of a catch-all. Special studies is rather self-explanatory. Those things that don't necessarily fit into other categories, as well as some of the local studies that your jurisdictions undertake using CRTPO funds. The development of the work program itself, the TIP, self-explanatory, then civil rights compliance and other regulatory requirements. That is another task code. Then statewide and extra regional planning, that's where we engage with our neighboring MPOs or at the state and national level. And then lastly, management and operations, that is that category which helps keeps the lights on, everything running, those day-to-day tasks that we all have to do to make sure that any organization keeps on operating. As to funding, there are 3 primary sources. All 3 originate with the federal level. 2 are from the Federal Highway Administration. We have Section 104F planning funds, or PL funds as we call them frequently. Then we also have funds coming from the Surface Transportation Block Grant Direct Attributable Program. And then lastly, from the Federal Transit Administration, our Section 5303 funds, and they are primarily allocated for transit planning activities. And there is, of course, with all federal funds, or at least most federal funds, there is a local match. For the PL and STB GDA funds, that match is allocated across all the member jurisdictions on a per capita basis. So, for example, the city of Charlotte, being about 60% of the planning area's population, picks up about 60% of the match, and then it's divided accordingly amongst all the other member jurisdictions. The match for any local planning projects, that is actually provided by that community. So if you undertake a planning project using CRTPO funds, that match is not allocated across all jurisdictions. That's the responsibility of your jurisdiction. And then the match for the Section 5303 funds is provided by the user. So we allocate those dollars to the providers in the region, CATS, Union County Transportation, ICATS, Iredell County Area Transportation System, and Mecklenburg Transportation System. They pay that match for those funds. And then there's also a component of the UPWP where we have to include other federal funding sources, and I think some state funds occasionally as well, if they're used for transportation planning. So, for example, in the current UPWP, we have the Transit-Oriented Development Grant that the city of Charlotte received for the Silver Line. We don't have a lot of engagement on that as an organization, but because it's being used for transportation planning purposes, it has to be incorporated into the MPO's work program. So as to fiscal year 2025 funding, we don't know what those numbers are quite yet. We are hoping that by the end of the year, NCDOT will provide those numbers for both the PL funds and the Section 5303 funds. So right now, we're developing the work program based upon the current year's numbers. And to be candid about it, the numbers may be lower for the coming fiscal year for a couple of reasons. There's some volatility associated with PL funds. There is a base amount that we receive, which is fairly steady. But a component that was added a few years ago, which is a benefit to the MPOs, particularly the larger ones, is that funds that go unused by other MPOs go back into a pot and then are redistributed to to all the MPOs using the same formula that allocates the primary amount. But it depends upon how those funds are used throughout that given fiscal year. Are more funds used, then there's less funding available for redistribution. And so it's kind of a volatile amount there. Plus, this year is a little bit different because there will be a new MPO coming on board in North Carolina. Southern Pines exceeded the 50,000 population threshold. So they will be using PL funds as well. So I suspect that 1.6 million you see there under federal will be a bit lower. I don't know how much that is, but this is the best information we have at this stage in the game. I'll also note the number there for the STB-GDA funds, 1.1 million. That's somewhat arbitrary. We draw down that amount to help support the planning process, draw down that from the total of STB-GDA, that is. But it's not, and it is based upon, to a certain degree, on a decision made by the policy board. But if we do find the need for some additional money to support the planning process, particularly if that PL amount drops more than we're anticipating, then we could go and draw down a little bit more than that 1.1 million. For years, we drew down $800,000, and then several years ago, for those of you who remember, after we completed the staffing and resources study, the board directed us to draw down more because they wanted some additional staff to come on board. But we are anticipating, though, the Section 5303 amount that you see there, just a little over 1 million, to remain fairly stable, but we still don't know quite yet. As to tasks, for those of you who have been here for a while, you probably do know that a lot of our work is cyclical. We do it on a regular basis. Sometimes we do it annually, sometimes we do it every 4 years, et cetera, but it is cyclical because much of what we do is embedded in federal regulation and, to a certain degree, state law. So the TIP is one of the best examples there. We do that on a cyclical basis. In fact, one of the cycles just ended the other day with the end of the discretionary funds program call for projects on the 31st. And then the prioritization process, et cetera. The MTP will be starting that in earnest next year, updating the current plan for the 2055 MTP, the CTP, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of what we do. In fact, I would venture to guess that 80 to 90% of what we do in some way is cyclical in nature. So in terms of looking forward into the next year, this is a host of potential activities. Some of them are of that cyclical nature. A few of them maybe not as much. Beyond 77, continuing on that path with implementation. Safety planning, that has come up several times very recently. We've gone for a couple of raise grants. Came up at a meeting held on Monday that I'll get into in a moment. It also came up during our Beyond 77 implementer meetings about the importance of safety and us pursuing that more aggressively as an organization. We had some recommendations coming out of the certification review that Loretta Barron addressed last month. So we'll be pursuing those as well. And grant opportunities, and of course the Metrolina regional model. That is something that is vital to the functioning of this organization, and we consistently therefore put a lot of money towards that initiative. Work is underway on the development of the work program for next year. In terms of the Section 5303 program, we did issue a call for projects last month. That closes a week from today. We've held pre-submittal meetings with the transit agencies so far. We issued a major initiatives and issues request from staff and partners, and we actually held the partners meeting on Monday. That was the meeting I alluded to a moment ago. You can see the partners there. We got good input. I think safety came up from Alex at that point, is my understanding. So we'll be pursuing that as well, and we'll be needing some follow-up with some of these agencies also. And of course, in terms of work underway, Curtis just talked to you about the socioeconomic data. So that is vital to not so much the UPWP, but just the planning process for one big component of it next year, the 2055 MTP. So in terms of next steps, next month, we will begin the process to assign funding levels to the task codes that I mentioned earlier. And then in January, we'll be presenting first drafts to both the TCC and to the board, and we'll submit a draft to NCDOT. Usually that's by the end of the month. And we'll also begin preparing text around that time as well. And then come back to you and the board in February with a second draft. And then in March, that's when we seek adoption of the UPWP. And then, of course, our fiscal year begins on July 1, and that's when the fiscal year 25 UPWP will go into effect. So that's a highlight of what we'll be doing with the work program. We wanted to get this in front of you now. There's a possibility we may not be meeting next month, plus the board will not be meeting next month. So we definitely wanted to have them hear it later on and have you hear it at roughly the same time. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the work program.
Thank you, Bob. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Good morning, Bob.
Morning.
Point of clarification, perhaps, and a question for you. If you could go back to the funding table that you had, that's the one. Just the point of clarification in the section 5303, which will matter to almost no one in here other than CRTPO staff and transit staff, is that the local match is actually 10%. The other 10% is provided by Integrated Mobility Division. So that makes the cost of those funds just a little bit easier to stomach for some of the transit agencies. So
yes, thank you. That is the outlier in terms of the local match. It's usually a standard 20%, but for 5303, it is handled differently. And thank you for that clarification.
It's pedantic, but I thought I would bring it up anyway. Can you go to the next slide, please? I wanted to ask you. Yes, on this one, I'm curious to know, I know that some of the other plans that MPOs typically have to work on are like limited English proficiency plan and their Title VI, which may be bundled together. I'm curious to know, is that something that's coming up or has just recently been approved?
We have in the current work program allotted time and money for updating our Title VI plan during the current fiscal year.
Okay.
And I think we'll probably kind of fold in the limited English proficiency aspect of it as well, but we've specifically called out the Title VI plan for this current fiscal year.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
I want to make sure the word pedantic gets into the minutes because I don't think it's ever been in our minutes before.
Alex and pedantic.
Any more questions? All right, Bob, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving through our final section of our agenda. You included in your packet, you should have received construction project updates for Division 10. We did not receive anything for Division 12, and Anil, I don't believe, is with us today. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. Just reach out directly to him. All right. Okay. Andy, I think you have an announcement for us today.
Some of you have seen the name, email, and others may have seen person, but this is Roger CEO, who I've hired to replace Tommy. Here at CEO and also the UCL coordinator for PPE. Involved in a lot of things that I've kind of carried the past few months, and tried my best on it, but so other than the fact that we already included that now I guess.
Yeah, so, hey everyone, my name is Gil, working with you 7 years now, and you all, when I leave home, I'll write a newsletter, and updates and things like that. Yeah.
My bad. Sorry, apologize. But yeah, so for this newsletter, it was pretty, there's not too many updates, but you'll see a few. Right now, it just kind of covers some of the state power bill funds and just kind of where you can find some information on that. It has kind of my intro, so if you basically my introduction of what I just said is listed on the newsletter as well. And then any ongoing traffic forecasts and other things. So, and in the back, you'll have like a link of different resources that you may find helpful. So if you have any questions, please just let me know. My email is also on the newsletter. So feel free to reach out. Thank you. I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you for filling the gap after Dominique left, and welcome, Roger. Alex.
All right, thank you. All right, so I just wanted to acknowledge that I was up late last night watching the Texas Rangers win the World Series. So congratulations to them. 25 years in the DFW area, so sort of became a fan by accident. Okay, enough of that. So I did want to congratulate they announced FHWA or USDOT announced the first round of the newest Safe Streets and Roads for All projects. And I did want to acknowledge and congratulate the City of Monroe as a recipient of that, along with Burlington Graham MPO, Gastonia, Greensboro, Hickory, and the Greenville MPO. So there will be a second round announced in December. So excited to see those. Bob alluded to it. That's something that I'm very interested in is safety, traffic safety, but particularly for vulnerable road users. So I'll be watching with great interest to see what kinds of projects are going to be worked on with these particular grantees. Just a small update, mostly useful for the MPO staff, but may interest some other folks here, is that we are currently working on doing some guidance. You may remember from the updates to the UPWP last year that with the new transportation bill, that some planning activities do not require a match, including some complete streets work. I think we generally referred to that, and some analysis of some areas that are disadvantaged. And so we're working on that regarding the FTA funding on that. So I think it's likely, although I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it's likely that we will see that guidance released probably this month or next. So I'm hopeful to bring that to MPO staffs across my region starting soon. And then a reminder, although I don't have a definitive date yet, that our multimodal planning grants, which are our local bike ped projects that we fund, actually from money from Transportation Planning Division, I anticipate those will likely open up probably in December or at latest probably January. So sometime in there, I'll make sure to while that application process is open to let everyone here know about that. So if your community is interested in paying a low match for a good plan, certainly I'd be happy to talk to you all, or encourage you all to apply or consider applying when that grant application is open. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Warren. Grab a mic.
Appreciate the opportunity. Want to start by noting that in case you don't follow the calendar as closely as we are with Turnpike, this month marks the 5th anniversary of the opening of the Monroe Expressway. That'll happen the actual day, November 27th. And I always appreciate when the Monroe Expressway gets that kind of reaction, because that's what the feedback that we've gotten over and over. So we're not doing a lot. Our customer service centers will be acknowledging it for anyone who happens to walk in on the customer service center on November 27th. We're going to put out a press release, but the Monroe Expressway exists as a turnpike project because of CRTPO's predecessors' actions, the MUMPO. And so we're grateful for the opportunity to continue to provide that service to folks in the area and the state as a whole, because we get a lot of people using the Monroe Expressway. I'll also note, while I've got the floor, if I may, Madam Chair, that I've talked in the past about our new NC Quick Pass app. Thanks again to all NC Quick Pass customers in the room who downloaded that. We are up to about 110,000 downloads. Our rating is increasing, so if you've helped with that, thank you. If you haven't, there's your opportunity. Thank you very much. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanks, Warren. All right, Jennifer, you have a POC update for us?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of slides. So our fall call for projects closed Tuesday at 5. So I don't have a complete summary, but I wanted to do a high level overview of the applications received. We received 33 applications. Last year was 34, so right in the ballpark. 3 planning requests, 3 projects for carbon reduction, 9 highway, 9 non-highway, 7 shortfall highway, and 2 shortfall non-highway. So I appreciate all of those coming in. And since I think next month's TCC might be canceled, next Wednesday at the transportation staff meeting, I'll go into a little more detail about the application. So honestly, I haven't added up all the numbers yet. I have a pretty good idea that we have more applications than we have funding, which is common. But we'll go over in detail next Wednesday at 2. I think everybody here should be on that transportation staff invite list. Then in December, I think December 1st, the scores will go to the Project Oversight Committee. We have an in-person meeting and we'll look at the scores, discuss it, and then they make the recommendation to the TCC and then onto the board. We request action in February for the project. So any questions on that? Great. Well, again, we'll look forward to talking with you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a real quick thanks to both you and Andrew for your leadership and the members of the POC. You all do a tremendous amount of work between these submissions, and we appreciate all that you do to represent that process. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Curtis.
We have just a really quick update on our SEAM planning study. We have made a lot of progress on that with our staff and consultant, as well as some of the staff around the table. Y'all are all, or many of y'all are on that steering committee. Only because we don't know what the status of our December TCC meeting is. So I want to give a quick update now. You should expect to see some public engagement activity towards the end of November, beginning of December, and that will go into early winter next year. So just be on the lookout for that. Aside from that, our agenda for this afternoon is included in your TCC agenda. So any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and last, we'll hear from Travis.
I just had 2 items. First, I just wanted to mention to everyone that the December, or as of right now, we do not have items for the December TCC meeting. We'll still do a call for items. So if anyone has something that needs to be brought before this group, we can meet in December, but if nothing presents itself, we have the ability to cancel the December meeting. So I will send information as needed. And finally, I just would like to thank Curtis Bridges for serving as TCC secretary last month.
Thank you. Yes, and welcome back. All right. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? As always, thank you all for your time and participation in the important work that we do in planning for regional transportation. We have completed all of the items on our agenda, therefore we are adjourned. Thank you.